Hello and welcome to another episode on how to fix car stuff. Today we're going to be discussing a topic that is commonly forgotten about. We have an older style Ford positive engagement starter. It's used by Ford for years and years. Today we're going to talk about starter fluid. Very commonly overlooked maintenance item. You can do this on the vehicle. It doesn't have to be taken off the car. I've just taken it off the card so we can see it better. Just got it chucked up here in the vise. So starter fluid. You can see that there's two bolts here. One at the bottom, one at the top. You want to set it in the vise if you do take it off the car, so that one of them is closer to the bottom. This is the drain and this is the fill hole. So to change the starter fluid, take a ratchet. This one has a 3/8 bolt, and we're going to crack this bolt loose. And you can see there is a dark colored fluid that's going to come out of here. And typically this is clear. When this fluid's brand new, it is a clear fluid. And you can see that this has probably not ever been changed. This starter is probably from 70s, I'm guessing. I think it came off of a 71 Ford or something like that. I can't remember. But the starter worked. It was a little noisy. I thought before I put it on my truck I would change the fluid in it, so I just thought I'd video that. So you just want to let it drain until all the fluid is drained out. It should only take a few minutes. I'm going to let that drain. I'm going to take a rag and I'm going to wipe off the drain plug. Make sure there's no oil on it. And then before I put the drain plug back in, you want to inspect the gasket surface of the plug, which is this area right here, and it looks to be okay. But just for some added insurance, I'm going to take some Teflon thread compound, and I'm just going to apply a little bit to this gasket area, like so. And if you get a little bit too much on, don't worry about it. It'll wipe off with the rag pretty easy. So after this is finished draining, and we'll take the bolt, we'll stick it back in. Now you want to make sure that you keep the bolt straight as you install it, and you can feel the threads engage. And I'm just going to take my ratchet, and I'm just going to run it down until it's snug. And then you want to look up the torque specifications, which we'll do here after a while. Okay, now if that's tight, I'm going to go on to the fill procedure. Wipe off this. Now you can see 90 degrees from that first bolt we took out, the drain plug is our fill plug. Now, so we want to take that out. And it's about the same size bolt, but you don't want to mix them up. You don't want to take out both bolts at the same time. If you mix them up, it could cause a leak, and we don't want to leak starter fluid. It's highly flammable. So I've got the bolt out. You can see it looks just like the drain plug, but if we put this in the drain plug hole, it doesn't have that nice gasket surface that our drain plug does, and it would probably leak. So get that out, set that on the bench. Now to fill it, you want to go to an auto parts store and buy premium starter fluid. Now, not all parts stores sell it. You might see some listed as starting fluid. That's different. Starting fluid is to spray in the throttle body of carburetor on a cold day to try to start it. Don't really need it anymore for modern fuel injection vehicles. But you don't want to use starter fluid or starting fluid. You want to make sure it says premium starter fluid. And Napa's the only place that I've found locally that has this. I'm sure you could probably find it online, but I just picked it up some of the Napa for convenience. So to install this, now you can't buy this in quart bottles any longer. It comes in aerosol cans. Why, I don't know. Because you cannot measure, the amount that I spray in here. I mean, it just sprays. But I want to measure this. I want to put in the proper amount of starter fluid. Now, to do that, you need to look up the specification. I happen to have a lot of motors manuals from the 70s, You can see this is a 1971 Motors repair manual, and you might be able to find it in Chilton's manuals, but I just happen to have manual. But you won't find a lot of specs for newer cars. They use a synthetic starter fluid in them, and that synthetic fluid is supposed to last the lifetime of the vehicle, and it usually does. Never really had a lot of problems with starter fluid going bad on a newer vehicle. So I will take this manual, and I'm going to look up the capacity real quick. Let's see, Volkswagen, Buick, Ford, Mercury. Let's see, 71, let's just say 390. Takes half an ounce. So they really don't take a lot of fluid. So the easiest way I've found to measure this out is I'll take the spray cap that comes off the starter can. You can see it's just a lid that snaps onto the top of the starter here, starter fluid. And I will take it and I'll set it on the bench, and then I'll take the starter fluid and I'll just spray it nice and slow until I fill that cap up. Fill that cap up all the way. So I've got that filled now. So then I've got this here. It's a syringe. You can see it's graduated on this side here. It's marked in milliliters and also ounces. So I'm just going to stick this down inside this little cap here, and I'm going to pull some of this starter fluid up into the syringe. Let's see, I got just about there. Okay, you can see I've got about 1/4 ounce. That's what my capacity was. So I'm just going to take this, and I need to tilt the starter back just a little bit. So I'll loosen up my old bench vise here, snug it back down, and I'm just going to simply squeeze the starter fluid into the starter there. See there? Got that. Now if a little bit leaks out, don't worry about it. I see you've got just a little bit dripping out. Once it settles down and gets into its proper resting spot, it'll quit leaking. So I'm going to put my fill plug back in. You want to make sure that you get it started straight, and then I'm going to tighten it down just until it's snug. Now there's really no way to check the level on your starter fluid. It's just a measurement thing. I mean, you can't, crawl underneath your car, pull a check plug out, or pull a dipstick on the starter fluid because there isn't one. So I'm simply just going to torque this down to specification. I didn't get my torque wrench out. Torque wrench. So I've got my torque wrench here. I'm going to look at the specs real quick. I should have looked it over to that page. Now I have to find it again. 71 Ford, 70, 390. Okay. 5 foot-pounds. So I'm just going to simply put my torque wrench on here until it hits that spec. Alright, and that's it. That is how you change your starter fluid. If you have any questions, please don't feel free to ask. I'm sure I'll be posting more videos, a lot of old Ford stuff, some other things, some hacks and cheats along the way. Hope you guys learned something today, and if you have any questions, ask. Thanks a lot.